This is something very important, you know, like, how do I get an agent if I'm a conductor? You know, like for singers, it's very obvious. You know, like they win competitions, they do performances, that they are like there's a lot of traffic of information. There's a lot of cold auditioning, right? Like you can sing for this, but you guys don't have it, right? You need an orchestra, you need a full room of people to do something. So how does that happen? How can you guys walk me a little bit? Like you guys also got really like famous brands of agencies to look into your cases. What do you think why are you the chosen one, and you know, like be prudent but they also be honest? Why you guys? What do you think that it was a little bit of the secret recipe, if I may?
Who wants to go first?
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know. I just got management last year, and it was a really careful process. I was really anxious, like not anxious, like yes, anxious to pick the best person for me, and I think I did. But it was people started contacting me when I got my first major something, which was Seattle. When I got the conducting fellowship at Seattle, and people started noticing me, and I started getting emails like with people like, "Hey, can we meet? Should we meet?" and everything. And I met with a couple of managers in Europe when I was there, and then everybody would say, "Yes, I mean, awesome, you got this gig. Let's see what else do you have." And it was really frustrating because it was at the beginning like getting to the door to get to know these people, and then say like, "Oh, let's see what you got." And so then after that, I started talking to who my manager is now, and he was, I think, the one that followed through even without me getting other things.
Yeah.
So it was like he interviewed me, but at the same time I was interviewing him. I went to the mindset that it's not about who gets me or how, but who do I get, and who can get the uniqueness of being Latina, who doesn't want to be pigeonholed and who's just starting, but at the same time has other things going on. I mean, my orchestra and other things that make me who I am. So I actually signed with Javier at Cami, and then I got Philadelphia. And then after I got Philadelphia and Seattle, everybody came like even more aggressively. Okay, you got a second thing, so maybe it's time to sign me. But I already picked the person who was actually in like showing genuine interest, I want to say. And yeah, that's how it started. But I think it's a little bit obscure, and I wish it was a little bit easier for conductors, because there's a lot of people out there with great talent, but you just have to, I don't know, show milestones that are marketable in the circles that they move, so they can like work with us. Like it doesn't matter if you have like a lot of big things going on, but if it's outside the realm, it's difficult to help us.
So how did you feel this is the one?
How well, first of all, I think he is closer in age with me, and I wanted someone really, really flexible in that sense, that could, like, I could get like into a raw conversation about what I need and what I don't need, and the things that I'm still growing into the business, because it was my first thing, a big thing, Seattle. Well, not it wasn't my first big thing, but at least like the support of a big orchestra.
Yeah.
And it was just a feeling, that you get.
It's a valid answer.
It's just like sharks. People come at you. Like I felt like people were coming at me, like like in a really
Aggressive way.
no, I don't want to say aggressive, but like anxious. But at the same time, they didn't want to commit. So like when people showed that, like the two sides, I don't like ambivalence. So in that sense, he was the only one who was like uh, pragmatic about it and say like, yeah, we'll grow our career and we're doing this together. And that for me meant the world.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
Kenshu, how about you?
Yeah, there's so many like angles in which we can talk about this. So I
Right.
think first, like luck is absolutely a factor. Let's just get that out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
an element of luck in all of this. I had a really, I don't know, I just pre-signing with Oscar Holt. I when it's really funny, you know, you mentioned like people reaching out to you once you won a position. So I won Philadelphia, and not much happened. You know, like it was like, okay, I'm like really excited to be stepping into this job and whatever. But in terms of like managers, it was really nothing, you know, and it's not to say that I expected it, but it was kind of just like nothing. And where actually I started to get some traction was where I was going to guest cover at an orchestra, or you know, being an assistant for the week with an orchestra. And the conductor there for that week, who was also a guest conductor, you start building some bond there in terms of how you work with each other. And these are people that I was meeting that week. You know, it's just not people that I had long relationships with. But those working relationships really helped me in a way, because then they said, let me help you. Like, I'll put in the word with my manager. Maybe you guys can sit down and meet sometime. And it wasn't even anything promised like, we're going to sign you, but it was just like, hey, you guys should just talk and see what, you know, advice my manager can give you. And so that was actually my first introduction to many managers, was actually just through the work that I did as a cover and supporting that conductor. And I think they get a sense of your personality, and they get a sense of who you are as a person. And I think that's a really important thing that gets missed in all of this. Of course, it's important to have talent. Of course, it's important to have the repertoire, but it just comes through in your working relationships, especially people that are more experienced than you, or how you relate to musicians. All these things go into your persona as an artist. So I think they look into that very much, or at least I would like to believe that they look into that. And then what happened was, then I tried to be a little bit more proactive in, you know, reaching out to them afterwards and following up, of course, and saying, you know, it'd be great. And they actually even said like, hey, let me know when you have a performance coming up. So I, you know, type up an email that said, you know, I have an opera in Philly, and then I have some performances here, and, you know, and mostly centered around Philly, which is where I lived. And most of the emails that I got back were kind of like, that's great, you know, but if you can let us know whenever you're in New York with a performance.
Yes.
Invite.
That's a thing.
And so it's like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, next week I'll be in Carnegie. Come by and, you know, check out my concert. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it's like, how do we go with that, right? So it's just, then it's like, okay, well, you know, thank you. I don't have any performances in New York yet, but Philly is, you know, an hour long train ride away. Like, if you want, you know. So the conversations kind of ended. But where the attention kind of picked up was, of course, when I stepped in for Yannick when he got sick. And that was my, again, luck, right? I mean, that was just something that just happened. And I also, you know, on the flip side, I was also ready, right? I mean, it was a complicated program with new music, whatever it was, where I was possibly the only person around that area that could have done that program. I think they had many other options if the program was a little bit more standard. But I just lucked into this thing where they're like, hey, well, we're going to have to give this kid a chance. And the funny thing was, that was actually my first time ever conducting the Philadelphia Orchestra, because I had not conducted an ensemble throughout that first season. I was just covering. No education concerts, no outreach concerts, nothing. It was the first time stepping in front of that orchestra was that concert, right? So that was already crazy. So of course, like, that part I totally acknowledge and accept as just like dumb luck, that I was just ready and I stepped in. But that's when I was on the map. Suddenly I was getting the same people that said, hey, you know, can't make it down to Philly, come, you know, if you have a concert in New York. It's like, now it's like, when can we come see you? When's the next performance? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, I feel like, of course, internally, it's like, I haven't changed really as a person so much. Of course, I'm learning and, you know, improving all the way through. But it was just the thing that, it's like, oh, now it's something that's noteworthy, newsworthy. Let's get interested in this person. So I have to say that it kind of worked in many angles for me. And then why I picked Terry through Asking Us Holt was that luckily, studying with Yannick and being around Yannick, and also Christy Machalaru, who's also with Asking Us Holt, there's this kind of Asking Us Holt presence around these conductors that I, of course, are mentors and people that I looked up to. So I was familiar with them. I've been lucky enough to meet some of the team over there, so it just felt comfortable. And then when I met Terry, the biggest thing for me was feeling like we were a team that was going to build something together. It wasn't
Exactly.
someone that was coming in saying, hey, I'm going to now micromanage your schedule and like tell you where to go. It was like, let's build your career together. How do we set out this trajectory from getting you from this place to the next place? And how are we going to get you there through the little steps? And I think that's always been the mentality between us. And I just got off the phone with him just earlier. So we were just talking about that, especially right now with what's happening and checking in. So that to me really drew me to, of course, not just Terry, but the team Asking Us Holt.
Yeah, that's make the whole thing. What you say about like someone helping you navigate something that really is new. You don't change, like, but suddenly, like I don't want to say commodity, but the novelty of your name or whatever it is, and they just ground you. I feel like I think that's the beautiful thing when you find the right manager is that it's just a grounding relationship, professional relationship.
That's great. So I have a question. You both have and you did something, or you mentioned something very important, like you have good relationship with when you're assisting, you created a good relationship with the maestro, and then from the maestro also kind of came back, let me help you career wise. And you guys, both of you, have really good mentors
Yeah.
and really good different partners that have helped you technically, career wise, marketing wise, whatever it is, but you have that. um what do you feel, because of course, we know that those maestros or those people can mentor you, but what do you think that you as a conductor, as an inspiring artist, can give back to those guys, that it is that you feel is like, this is something that I should tell everybody else that gets an opportunity to be an assistant of a big maestro? They sure should do this 1 2 3, or this lesson I learned, I need to know this. One practical advice, what is that?
I'll go first. I think you have to be indispensable. Not just artistically, but whatever is needed to be done in the moment for that person that's in charge. And actually, I would even expand it to the people, not just, the maestro, but also the team. I think that's the biggest lesson that I learned in my assistantship, or whenever I was covering. You're there to support everyone, like you're a guest anyway. And I think the more you can support musicians, the administrative staff, the maestro, it makes everyone's job easier. So my job, I really felt, was, whether it was artistic, logistics, administration, development, whatever it was, to be indispensable in as many places as possible to support the team. And I think that attitude, of course, will help you in terms of your attitude, I think, as a music director eventually, in terms of helping the team overall. But it makes you just so much more indispensable. And of course, that helps everyone. I think that would be the one practical thing I would say.
Great. Lena?
Yeah. I would say that when you approach a person of like a big name or importance, and someone, especially your mentor, that you create a human and honest relationship, and it's not about networking, but it's actually getting to know the human in this level. So people don't want someone who just wants to get the email, to follow through, to show them off. They really want to talk real, because sometimes these careers are also really lonely. And these people who want to teach you, they want to share your experience as humans. So I every time I establish any relationship that I go, like even if I talk with Yannick or with my mentor Marin or Brownwell, Toby, whoever comes, I really want to get to know them. Because sometimes you go into these, yeah, sometimes you go to these scenes where you are like guest, like also a guest, you know, so it's like already like a guest cover in an orchestra, especially because I used to be a serial cover. And you go to an orchestra, you're also a guest, like the relationship is already a little bit contrived. So you don't feel like yourself, like you need to make you feel like yourself. It's not about you, it's about them. So like you have to be a leader in the supportive role, which we always say this is actually you have to always be trying to create meaningful relationships. It's not a Rolodex. You don't want to have like a Rolodex of people that you can show off, but you really want to get people to support you.
That's that's very important. That's awesome. I have another question. So when is a good time when you know like Kensho, you're just going through that moment, um like when do you feel that it's like, okay, I'm gonna stop assisting, I'm gonna stop doing the cover conductor, I'm just gonna do my thing? Like when do you feel that that is the question? Where and how does it start that, and what are the steps to make it effectively? Of course, you know, you have to have a manager that helps you to establish that with you, right? That when people
Mm-hmm.
call them, or it's like, well, you know, right now he's only concentrating on conducting engagements, but when did you guys feel like, okay, it's enough?
For me, I felt it, I think, toward the end of my second year with Philadelphia, um, where, of course, that was now 1 year-ish into my signing with Ascendus Holt. So um, where now Terry was trying to book, 1920, 2021, and seeing what the dates were with the schedule that I had in Philadelphia. So that's where like the conversation started. Honestly, at that point, I felt like I needed 1 more year of just like seasoning, getting more, just, when you're with, an orchestra like that, where you're lucky enough, you just want to be in that sound, or you want to be part of that sound world for
Yeah.
as long as you can. So you absorb everything that you're learning, from Unique and the guest conductors and the musicians, all of that. So you feel like that's the only time also I feel like as a conductor, when you're working with musicians for that long, you can get really honest, constructive criticism. Because I think now when you're guest conducting, it's a lot of this kind of like, oh, that was so great, thank you so much. And you have no idea, like, and it, in a way at that point, like, it doesn't matter. Like you have to just do your own thing. And there's never that point where someone can honestly just sit down with you and say, hey, for this kind of thing, like, we really think you need to, there's none of that anymore. So I wanted to, actually, that's one thing I did at the end of my second year with Philly, was to ask the artistic committee, please, like, if there's any way you can get a survey out where I could just get some honest, constructive criticism for my third year, so that I can think about it and improve before I leave. And it was the best thing I did, because everybody was really constructive. I have to say, there wasn't really anything that was like, really, really negative, but it was really helpful things that I wasn't realizing I was doing, that they could tell me in a safe way, and I could just take it with me so that I can improve. So that's where I felt like I maybe started to think further along down the road. And in terms of timing and all of this, I mean, it's one anecdote I would share is just that I think when my manager was starting to, talk to orchestras, I think a lot of the questions that came back was like, love to book him. When is he done as an assistant?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think there's a little bit of trepidation with orchestras to book as the guest conductor and assistant conductor of an orchestra. So, and maybe this is a European thing. So David, I don't know. I feel like, especially in Europe, I feel like was a question that we were getting a lot. Like, when is he done with Philly so that we can sign him up for something? And it might have been calendar or whatever, but that was a question that kept popping up a little bit during that time. But, like, look, if you decide to leave, you better be ready. Like, there's no training wheels at that point, right? There's no room for error. Like, you go in, you better be ready. Like, from day one that you are flying solo, you better be ready. Of course, there's many things to improve, but man, there's no room for error there.
Wow. Lena?
Well, it's a really interesting point because actually I am in a different point in the career compared to Kensho because I'm in the middle of my either fellowship or assistantships.
Mm-hmm.
But at this moment, I have decided at least what worked for me. And this sounds so bad, but I want to say it. Um, I'm only looking for conducting opportunities if it's a name, not a name, a person with the experience equally as the people I'm working. So, for example, I'm working with Ricardo Muti in Chicago, and I'm interested in his repertoire and his approach to anything. I mean, whatever Ricardo Muti says, I really want to absorb. And the last conducting gig, a cover conducting gig that I did was with Subin Mehta. So I'm looking in that sense because those are and I'm saying like the amount of like the wealth of knowledge that they can give me just by me being there is worth the trip. Um, but yes, if it's not like on the level of sounds terrible, I shouldn't say this.
Yeah,
Like
if
in
they're
the
not
level of
Hall of
Yanni.
Famers, then no.
No, but it's not about the famous the level of fame. It's about the level of experience. What can I get from them? If I'm covering someone that is equally as young as me, I might learn the same, or it wouldn't be like the same conversation. I think that now at this moment, if I'm like at this level of covering, I just want to get an opportunity that I'm learning. Otherwise, I better be working, like getting
Okay.
hands on. So I'm looking at the repertoire and looking at the person, the wealth of experience that they have. And that's pretty much it. If it doesn't get into the level, I say, well, maybe it's not the opportunity for me anymore. Because it's also tiring. Covering is annoying. Like, covering is not annoying, but covering is
Go for it.
it's a really time consuming thing. So you have to bring a different mindset, even like if you are like different from even assisting. Covering is just you sit there, you absorb, you have to be taking notes, doing all the things of the assistant. But if you're traveling to cover, there's this, a different dynamic.
I mean, not to
So
mention all the emotional energy that you expend, right? Trying to read the room, read every room that you step into, and just understanding the dynamics and trying to fit in and being supportive. I mean, it's a lot of energy spent. Honestly, I mean, if you're not tired after covering, you're not doing it right.
yeah,
Like
no,
you're just
absolutely.
sitting there and not offering anything of value, honestly. So I think that
Yeah, exactly.
it just goes
So
back to
it's
being supportive and being indispensable. Yeah.
yeah.
So this is great because you're giving a lot of like little jewels for the people that are stepping in those rooms. Read the room, pay attention, and great conductors. Like everything that you have mentioned till this point is what I always experience in great conductors. Like a curiosity for experience for the people that have done it at a high level of competitiveness. Like when I was conducted by major conductors, they always talk about the great masters of their past and
Yeah,
what they were
exactly.
learning about it, and they just wanted to be shown a way, and then like maybe they would not arrive to the same pattern, but they know that they could go that distance, right? So that is really well. You have to be in order to be a great communicator, like a conductor needs to be, and a great inspiration or a leader in so many ways. You have to be a good reader of the room, so. And you also have to be known that when is your chance and when is not, and when you're ready to lead, and sometimes you're ready to get out of the way. So I think the apprenticeship process to become a major maestro, right? You guys are doing it right. You guys have bided your time. You're diversifying your repertoire. You have great partners already. You are also now, you have your own social media channel that is interacting with your own public. That is something that before it was done by letters or by fan clubs, or it was not. Now like you guys now are adapting to the world of today. The young conductor today has to have interaction with the public ready. We have to be invited into your journey. I think that is something that, especially now with the Conductors Collective, is really really awesome. And that's why also Tito Network was after you. you know, that perspective of the young rising star that is at a certain level and is like right there, right? And but still there's a little microfilm that is still kind of tying you into the ground, you know, right? You know, like in your case, Kensho, is like you were about to explode your first season out, and then Corona happens, and you're in the middle, but you both are in that kind of like big awareness of the rising stars of the market, right? So now that, you know, like again, you know, if everybody that is seeing this and has a little bit of analytical mind, you can see the lessons and the journey, right?
Thank you, David. Can I say one last thing? Sorry, I just like, I don't want to finish this because this is important. Eh?
Yeah.
This is important. You know, we say we cracked it, and we said that, you know, Kensho and Lina K+L. We have the hashtag, the collective mentorship. But actually, like the guests that we have, including you on season 2, they have all been so generous. So they have really, like, I think if it wasn't for Corona, their generosity haven't come true in the same way, because now there's also like the element of time and everything, but they have been so generous that without them, it will be a it would be a different experience, you know. Because yeah, of course we have a lot to offer, but the fact that we can bring some of our like friendships and the people who have helped us to talk to other people, it's just priceless. So it's a combination. I think it's like the perfect marriage in that sense.
Boom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you, David, for having us, and I hope you tune in for the next episode.
of course, of course.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Hey, that was fun.
Yeah, those were good.